Another piece of advice for a band: do not release your album on 420. Don't do it.
True.
You and about 16,000 other bands are going to be releasing on the same day. You don't want to get lost.
Right. Right.
What else would you say? Like if you didn't have the label, just on the day-to-day experience of being in the band, what do you think are the essentials that a young working band needs to understand in order to survive more than 6 weeks in this scene?
Yeah, that's a good point. Bands break up fast. Bands get together fast. They break up fast. So number one is communication. Like really clear communication. Do not write anything angry or emotional or frustrated over text.
Really?
Yes. No, I know, but yeah.
Like, if you're the band leader, generally there's one guy in the band or two guys in the band that's doing all the work and everybody else is coming along with it, right? That's just the fucking fact of it. If you're doing that, you have a clear vision of what you want to do and where you want to go and how you want to get there as much as possible and communicate that and ask the guys if they're into that as you're moving along through the year. You know, I mean, in a nutshell, this is a band's year. Doesn't mean like January to December, but this is a band's year. The band is simultaneously writing music to get it ready to be recorded while playing shows locally and figuring out what regional shows they're doing out of the city or the state on a base level. You know, you're practicing at least once a week. Everybody fucking shows up on time. Everybody contributes and plays. You're writing music to get it recorded. You're playing live shows and building up a fan base. You are active on social media, email, making networks with other bands and with PR, with press, and building relationships in the scene. And you don't expect anything. You just be respectful and be kind and treat people the way you want to be treated. And you put it out there and you expect nothing back. And you don't get pissed off or frustrated if nothing happens, because it's just your art, and be yourself with it. And in a year cycle, you're going to have music that's recorded. You're going to put album out. You're going to have an album cycle. When you get to the album cycle, you start 3 months before the album comes out and you start your press, whether you're doing it yourself or you're doing the PR company or your label's doing it for you. If you do not have a label or a PR company, you're fucked.
You are the label. You are the PR company. Yeah.
That means you do everything yourself. If you don't know how to do any of that shit, you need to pay somebody to do it in PR. Period. It doesn't have to be my PR company. I don't care. You have to pay for PR. Why? Because your music will not get heard the way you want it to be. Sorry, that's just how it is. That's a bummer, man. I learned that. I mean, you know, no one listened to the first Red Mesa record. No, I didn't know what I was doing. You know, that's a fact.
Advice to bands, understanding the cycle of the band. You were saying that 3 months before the release of the album, you've got to get your press out.
Yeah.
I can't stress how important that is. I've gotten 5 requests for an interview that they released their album in December. Or, even worse, they're releasing their album today, and I didn't get the email till yesterday. There's no way in hell that I'm going to have it. Because when I review, I don't listen to one song and go, oh, this is the greatest thing. I'm listening to it 4-5 times minimum, you know, on headphones, on speakers, in the car. I want to get a sense. You've got to be ahead of it. This is a brutal reality. Nobody is dying to hear your music.
Absolutely. And I think, if for a little context, why do you need to do 2 or 3 months ahead of time is simply because once an album is already out, no one can, do any premieres of your music, which means if you want to cite to like, oh, we have this single, we'd love people to hear before the album comes out, you can't do that because you can't premiere something that's already released. And I know that sounds, it's really obvious, but that's a big thing, because getting premieres is really key. You can work with review sites. They can premiere a song. It's really fun. And then 2, you know, people are excited these days about what's coming, not what is already out. And so as soon as the album comes out, and I know this from running a record label for almost 6 years, the sales that happen for the bands are always before and on release date, and then it just it trickles out and dies for a lot of music once it's released. And then you got to go tour and play music and sell your stuff on the merch tables as a band. That's very important. If you can't do that, that's okay, but that really would be ideal. And so it's really important to get things out there ahead of time. So reviewers, you guys are so busy. Everybody's so busy. They need a lot of time to get into something, to digest it. If you're getting 2,000 albums a month on the Doom charts to have to comb through, you don't want to give it to them the day before you drop an album. And I understand on the artist side of things, as sort of my last closing point, it is so exciting to share your music as soon as you get your masters back. And I get a lot of bands hit me up on PR and like, it's almost out, it's almost mastered, and we're going to release it on this date. And it's like, slow up. You can't release it next week, even though you're getting your masters back the day before. I know you're super excited for everybody to hear your music, but before you send it out to the world and publicly, you need people who are going to help you to review it and to listen to it and to build buzz around that. It's really, really key. That's just how it is if you want people to listen to music. If you don't care, and that's okay if you don't care. There's bands out there that are awesome. They go, my new album's out. Okay, cool, it's out, you know? But if you really want to try to give your band an opportunity to have people here and to review it, guys like Scott, you got to do 3 months ahead, you know?
An easy 3 months ahead. You also probably, now I know they're excited, go ahead and release a single. If you want to get buzz, pull a single. What I get concerned with is bands that only release singles. So they got the whole album on single, and then they try to release the album, and I haven't seen that work too well.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It doesn't work that well usually. But it depends on the band. And if, you know, just remember, nobody is Sleep except for Sleep. Sleep can drop an album on 420 without announcing anything like they did with the Sciences 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And it'll be great for them.
You're not Sleep.
Trust me, you're not Sleep. Nobody is Sleep. And so other than that, you gotta, a band like they were talking about, Hippie Death Cult. They are a band that work very hard on their end to get their own stuff out. And if you have the ability to do video content, to do really great social media, and to run advertisements, and to really do all that, they're really talented, not only as musicians, but also graphic artwork and video work and things like that. If you can do that, go for it, because you really can do that a lot on your own. Otherwise you really got to start to commission people out for artwork, for video stuff, for PR, etc.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that a band has to ask themselves, how much is an hour of your time worth? Because you're going to spend 20 hours on Canva, doing your little thing. But if you paid a pro $120, you probably would have saved yourselves a net $80, assuming you think you're a $10 an hour person. If your time is worth $20 an hour, and I'm saying it does cost money to make money. By the way, I don't make a dime off of this. I'm not monetized. I will sell merch. By the time Clean and Sober is monetized, and it will be, I will have sunk $11,000 into this thing. And this didn't grow on a tree. And that's what it takes. As a small site, I'm in the same boat as any band. And if I'm not on Facebook and Instagram, if I'm not constantly promoting, nobody is going to hear. Nobody is dying to read my next blog.